alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion, like God is not dead. He's surely alive and he's living on the inside, roaring like a lion, like God is not dead. He's surely alive and he's living.
And some are doing it in worm sanctuaries, and some of them are doing it in buildings without heat, and some of them are doing it from prison cells. God desires all people to be saved and come to the knowledge of truth. We begin the journey together. We were created for the same purpose. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. We were created for the same purpose, to glorify God and live eternally with Him. God did not create you to put you through this or put you through that. He did not create you because He needed a teacher here, or a doctor here, or a truck driver here, or a plumber here. He created us to lift up the name of Christ and to choose Him. That when we came to that crossroads, we would, out of love and adoration for Him, choose to live eternally with Him. I know how she would have taken it if I had met Jera back in 1983 and said to her, "All right, woman, you're going to be my wife. Come on. Don't give me lip. You're the new Mrs. Fogan." I probably have a black eye. She had to choose to love me. At the same time, God wants you to choose to love Him. He could make you love Him. He could have programmed you to love Him. He could have configured you to love Him. But instead, He wants you to choose to love Him, to choose to spend eternity with Him. We need to choose the destination, however. We need to choose the destination. God could not make the choice more obvious. God could not make the choice more obvious. One day when Vice President Calvin Coolidge was presiding over the Senate, one of the senators angrily told him that he could go straight to blank. I'm a preacher, I can say the word, but I'm not going to. That he could just go straight to blank. And the offended senator complained to Coolidge as presiding officer, and Coolidge looked up from the book that he had been leafing through while listening to the debate, and he replied, "I looked through the rule book. You don't have to go." You don't have to go. And people, that's just the way it is. You do not have to go to hell. You can choose heaven. It doesn't make any difference what anybody does to you. It doesn't make any difference what somebody says to you. You can choose to live eternally with God. You have to choose your destination. And the destination is obvious. You have, what if I was a real estate broker and owned a house, and it's a nice house, it's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, living room, family room, 3-car garage, in one of the best neighborhoods, and it's yours for free. Or, I've got this pup tent that you can move your family into. You have to choose. Well, you know, I really like camping. That pup tent looks pretty good. But the choice with God is even more obvious. You can live eternally with Him, or there's the fires of hell. Hell is a real place where people who choose not righteousness but evil spend all eternity. Now, if I were to ask a question, how many of you would like to be doused with gasoline and put on fire? Raise your hand. Okay, well, we don't do that as part of the practice of this church. Just in case you got a little worried in your visiting. But to not choose God is pretty much equivalent to saying, hey, you know, I can't wait till the day that I can be thrown into the lake of fire where it's burning with sulfur and smoke, and it's fire that never ends, and I will burn for all eternity. Man, give me that suntan lotion. I'm going in. The choice is obvious. Who wants to live in eternal peace and joy in the new city prepared for you, where there is no more suffering, where there is no more pain, where there is no more sorrow, where you are eternally loved by a Father who will walk beside you down the river of life and embrace you, and where we can embrace the Lord, the one who saved us? The choice is obvious. But when we're going on a journey, you need to pack for the trip. You need to pack for the trip. Now, when you go on a trip, let's just say a weekend excursion. Guys, that sounds so sexist. Never mind. How many of you pack one suitcase? Most of you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. How many of you pack more than one suitcase for yourself? And the rest of you just don't want to admit. Okay. All right. Packing for the trip. Sometimes we have a tendency to overpack, don't we? Sometimes we don't pack enough. Let's say you're going on an airline. Which airline would you choose? The one that takes all of your baggage? Or would you choose the one that only allows you one carry-on? Well, that's rather obvious. I choose the one that will take all my baggage and take it for free. I don't like limitations. But God and heaven is not an airline. If we are heaven-bound, we must discard a lot of baggage that we have been accustomed to carrying around. The baggage of sin, the baggage of poor attitudes, the baggage of bad habits, the baggage of wrong priorities, the baggage of sexual immorality, the baggage of gossip, the baggage of negative choices, the baggage of sin. We have to take all this baggage and we have to leave it behind, because broad is the gate. If you want to go through the broad gate, hey, you can take it with you. But guess where it goes? Destruction. Narrow is the gate. And I'm telling you, these things will not fit through the gate. They will not fit through the gate. The only baggage that we need for heaven-bound traveling is our carry-on baggage, and that carry-on baggage is that baggage that we put upon ourselves when we are covered by the grace of Jesus Christ. Do not follow the crowds. Now, sometimes, it's good to follow the crowds. When you're trying to find yourself out of a place or out of a location, or trying to find yourself into a location, well, just follow everybody else. But you have to be careful. And you have to realize that that crowd that you're following all has shoulder pads and helmets on, and you're walking onto the field instead of the stands. You have to be careful where you're going. Do not follow the crowds. Broad is the road of destruction. There is plenty of room for you and for your negative baggage on that road. Mom used to ask me, if all your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it? How many of you ever heard that? Raise your hand. Yeah, it's one of those mom sayings. My answer, well, if the bridge was filled with zombies, yes, I would. This is one of those situations where it's not smart to follow the crowd. Our nation is following the crowd. More and more people are choosing the path of destruction. More and more people are abandoning their faith. More and more people are giving up moral living and righteous living and following after Jesus, and they're choosing to do sinful things. Our nation is on the road to destruction. Narrow is the way of salvation. There is no room for your baggage. Few want to make that effort. Few want to give up their baggage. God's people are always in the minority. You can always change the current. Now, up at the, and I've told this story to a few of you, up at the Aquatic Center, they have this, I think it's called a lazy river. It's indoors and you can get on it and float around. But when it's not open to the general public for swimming and such, it's used for exercise, as there are other swimming pools indoors. And people will get in that pool and they'll walk for exercise. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not hard on your joints. It's not hard on your knees or anything like that. And when you got over 300 pounds, you don't want to pound your knees too hard. So I used to jump in that river, and I would kind of run through the river because it was easy. Like I said, it was easy on my knees and everything. And I do about a mile every day. And I'd always go against the current, which did not help the elderly people who were trying to go with the current. Excuse me, pardon me. And because, I know this seems hard to believe, but because of my size and the speed at which I was attempting this and the length of time I would do it, it was not long before I wasn't going against the current, but I had actually changed the current in the river. So now I was going with the current, and all of the more elderly people were having the struggle to make their way. You know, I felt really bad about it, and I gave up on that and went to the elliptical machine. But anyway, you can always change the current. You can always go a different direction. No matter how few go your direction, you can always make a difference in someone's life. You can always turn somebody around. You can always help somebody to go the right direction, but you have to make the effort. Because, see, God's people are always in the minority. But they will always be in the minority unless we make the effort.